Hello, you are listening to the Mantic Universe podcast. I'm Chris, and I'm joined today by Steve Hildrew. Hey, Steve, how are you, kind sir?
Hello, I am also here. I'm very well.
When Clem and Mark aren't on, I have no idea how to start these podcasts, so I think we got away with that pretty well. And hey, Steve, we're very lucky and honoured to be joined today by Florence. Hi,
Hello.
Florence, how are you?
Hi. Hello, I'm fine. I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, it's lovely to have you on. Fantastic. On this extremely warm summer's evening. So, dear listener, we're here to talk about the Kingdoms of Men.
This is Andy from Mantic Games, and you're listening to the Mantic Universe podcast. So much universe, so little time.
This is Max McDougall saying, so much universe, so little time.
And yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, then we get into the issue of Steve pointed out a little while ago the fact that the game is called Kings of War. Oh, in hindsight, Anyway, so we're here to talk about Kingdoms of Men. Hey, Steve, my love of Kingdoms of Men knows no bounds. Do you remember a couple of years ago when there was a complaint against me trying to get me chucked off of the Kings of War Fanatics group because I said Kingdoms of Men should not be in the game?
You hate Kings of Men. I've literally forgotten that until this moment you mentioned it. What are you doing here?
Well, I just like to meet nice people and talk about things. And also, it's not very on brand for this year, 2024, but I'm very willing to change my mind about things, right? So I was perfectly willing to die on the hill that Kingdoms of Men should never, ever be in the game. But then I spoke to Mark Zielinski, and Mark said, oh, I quite like them. And I went, oh, all right then. Who can argue with Mark Zielinski, honestly? So I'm all turned around. That's all it took.
I thought it was because they threatened to ban you from the counter-charge Facebook group, wasn't it? Wasn't that the real reason you turned around?
Maybe it was, or Kings of War Fanatics, or yeah. It would have been awkward if it was the MUP Facebook group, but stranger things have happened.
Did MUP exist back then? Was that pre-MUP?
Ban myself. Yeah, roughly. It was about 2 years ago. Yes, although it may have been one of our first episodes that sparked the conversation. So super. So let's go through then. So what are we talking about tonight, dear listener? So we're going to do our little welcome. We're going to talk about why Kingdoms of Men are cool, and you can tell, dear listener, I haven't changed the notes since the Northern Alliance because that's no longer really a pun. Why are the Kingdoms of Men good? Why should you be spending your time on them? We're going to talk about the lore of the factions, the modelling opportunities, the units that really stick out to us, the playstyle of the army, maybe talk a little bit about the tactics. I think you two are up to it. I'm certainly not. And then we'll go into our listener questions. How does that all sound?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds thrilling.
So, Steve, you and I talk a lot, and we're on many, many podcasts. So I think the dear listener has probably heard quite enough about us. Unless you want to give yourself a little introduction, just because you can.
Hi, I'm Steve. Subscribe to Death by Dragons. Thank you very much.
Hey, Steve, speaking of which, obviously advertise your own product, no problem. Yeah. Hey, those new videos you've made on making terrain, they're flipping brilliant. I've seen the first two, how to make hills. My hills look nice, but they chip. And you've solved that problem. Too late for me, but you can help the dear listener.
Yeah, I'm making videos about terrain now because that's what cool people do. No one's watching them, of course, because it's me. And
I've watched them, Steve.
Thank you, buddy.
We've literally both watched them.
You've watched all two of the videos that I've made, so that's great. I should make some more, really.
Yeah, you should do.
Steve, I don't like this false modesty. I don't trust it.
It's not false.
Come on.
I've made
Take the compliment. Come on, take it. Take the compliment.
I've ordered some new microphones to try and help my sound quality. So, but yeah, making some more. So yeah, if you want to know how to make terrain, come on my channel and I'll show you how to make just hills at the moment, but maybe different things in the future. It's quick, easy, and durable. It's QED. See, it's nice.
Oh.
Did you don't get that from the massive QED? No, just me.
I get it. I get it now. Yeah.
I saw it was QED, but
didn't connect the old dots there.
I didn't think it went any further than that, Steve.
I thought you were just showing off your classical education.
I've got to put a lot of work into that. And So I was going to do durable, inexpensive, and quick, but it's spelled something else. so I decided not to.
I was going to say, I'm shocked you didn't spell out a rude word.
I did try.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving
Fantastic. On. But there was someone on the not to always talk about Gates of Antares, the best game in the universe, but there was someone on the Antares page who made some hills that were identical to yours, and I said, "Hey, did you see Steve Hildrer's video?" And he said no, but who knows? Maybe he did, and he's just taking all the credit. It was very suspiciously.
It's almost
similar,
as if I've
and I
copied
think
the methodology off at least 3 other people.
Super. Hey, so on that bombshell, let's introduce Florence. Florence, thank you so much for joining us on the pod.
Thank you for having me on the pod. It's great to be here.
Maybe you can take as long as you like. Maybe you can just give us a little bit of your background into wargaming, what led you to Kings of War, how much you like painting, interpret that however you like.
So I was born at a very young age, and I proceeded to get steadily older. No, seriously. As a youth, I was a Warhammer fantasy player. Boo, boo, hiss, etc. But with the death of the old world and the game that shall not be mentioned, I basically got rid of all my stuff and didn't do any tabletop wargaming for, I suppose it's about 10, 12 years, maybe more. And then at a convention here in the beautiful United Kingdom, I saw a demo games of Kings of War, and I picked up the free rules, and I was like, it's like Fantasy Battles came back, but better. And then I ummed and ahed for at least 2 days or something, and I just said, you know what, this would make my life better and enrich it. I'm going to just go and get a whole load of basically empire models and relive the Warhammer Empire days as kingdoms of men. And then I took them to some tournaments and won some prizes, and then got a bit carried away, really.
That's where I encountered Florence. I encountered you. You come up to Walsall, Dudley, all in Brum, right?
Yeah, I saw you up there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you know who was it ran your demo that first? Can you remember?
Yeah, it was down in Plymouth, so it was John Guns and those guys. And
yeah, the Moonrakers.
The Moonrakers, yeah, and I'm moonlighting with them at Clash this year.
You're a moon faker.
A moon faker, moonlighting with the Moonrakers.
You get a vest when you join the moon as a moon faker. They make you clothes.
I don't want to wear it. I thought I was going to follow Rule 14.
Yeah. So, I'm sure it'll be themed after the Mantic themed vest. It's very important that you join fully in with the paisley waistcoats, knitted or created by John's wife. They're beautiful.
I'm not really a waistcoat wearer.
This is going to be heartbreaking. I hope he's not listening.
Yeah. If they could do me like I don't know, something a bit more elegant, maybe.
A little. I don't know anything about women's clothing. I'm not going to be of any use here. How are you with women's clothing, Chris? I'm assuming you're more of an expert than me.
Only at the weekends, Chris.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily an expert, if I'm honest. I think that's pushing it. But I think, Florence, I feel like you should have had the conversation about the waistcoat earlier, or at least let them know immediately that there may be a clothing issue, that maybe they have to make you something else.
I will wear it for the photos.
We could accessorize it or something. We could do like a little like Instagram accessorize. Come accessorize this untasteful waistcoat with me. Like that.
But I was planning actually to wear like a full set of like Renaissance costume with armor to match my Kings of the Men army. I thought that's like the whole amazing. Rule 14 thing.
I thought the whole thing about being a Moonraker was the attire. I thought that was like at least 80% of it.
I think it's losing, isn't it? That's the main thing they do. I'm just.
Is it too late to step out? Because Losing is not on my agenda. No, maybe it's time to change the story.
Yeah, switch it up.
And so moving the conversation on just a little bit, dear listener. And so Florence, so Kingdoms of Men was your first army.
Yeah.
The first one you went for with Kings of War.
Yeah, absolutely. As a human myself.
And you've happily, right, you can relate. Right,
exactly.
That's something we can cover later. That's actually a fairly good point. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, that's right. As a human being, I relate to other human beings some of the time. And in Florence, it's interesting you haven't been tempted away. Maybe we can talk about it a little bit later. But you haven't been tempted away by some of the spicier factions, you might say. So anyway, super. So we've got Steve on and we've got Florence on. This is all going extremely well, dear listener. So guys, let's talk a little bit. So Kingdoms of Men as an army, what is it that lures you in and lures you into Kings of War, and why do you stay playing that game?
Ooh, should I go first?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Kingdoms of Men as an army, like I just said, I'm a human being. My little guys are human beings as well. Some of it's the sort of Warhammer nostalgia. My army is very much that sort of Renaissance, Empire, pikes and gunpowder sort of feel. So some of it is that nostalgia. Some of it's that whole kind of thing of like, these are just like some guys, that are out there fighting trolls and dragons and goblins, and they've got some swords and steel and maybe a bit of pinch of gunpowder, and they're just like up against everything. You just can't help rooting for the humans, can you, in this world where basically everything else has got sharp teeth or claws or supernatural powers or wings or magic.
Yeah, they're hell demons or, nightmares manifest, and there's just, Steve and Roger, they've got their pikes and their stout hearts.
Yeah, and Susan and Dora.
Steve, don't look at me like that, Steve. They were the two names I thought of off the top of my head.
Why did you choose the name Steve as like the most average person you could think of? Just an average guy, not special at all.
Like Steve was in front of me, and
this is Steve. He's a pikeman.
Right here, man.
And I have an Uncle Steve and I have an Uncle Roger, so I think that's where that came from. Yeah, good.
Actually, I'm not sure if Steve's not a pikeman. Like, if you want to be like real average human, you'd have to be like a Shield War member, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 100%.
Shield bearer.
I don't like horses, so I'd definitely be a foot person. And they wouldn't let me near a pike. Got the upper body strength.
We could get you loaded ballista.
Why is painting? Yes, quite possibly. Why are painting horses such a pain, everybody? Because they're natural colours. Yeah, you'd think it would be easy, but they tend to have a lot of straps. Maybe that's the issue.
Not going to say something inappropriate on the podcast, but
you can. Okay, no one listens. Don't worry. So you like.
Listen, Steve's on, so you can pretty much say whatever you like, and at some point he'll say something more controversial, and you'll be covered. It's fine.
Upset Clem later.
Yeah. Right. I actually quite like painting straps. I've really got like a formula down for it. I think they really brings the model together. And horses are great. Good. I love cavalry. What I don't like is that there's like quite a lot of horse compared to the rider. It's just like, I'm still painting this horse. I started painting this horse a week ago and I'm still painting it. I've had to top up my palette 6 times. I'm still painting the same horse. I've got like nearly one leg done. I think
is that a wet palette or a dry palette?
I think what I'm doing wrong is I should be painting miniature horses.
Hey, 10mm horses. But then surely the rider will still be the same size in relation to the horse. So you'll just paint more of them, but you'll still have the same amount of rider per horse.
We're talking about model horses, aren't we?
Chris missed the joke there. We'll rewind him. He'll get it in a minute.
We can edit it in later for Chris that you got it.
No, we don't do that, Florence. It's fine. I'm perfectly willing to look like an idiot. It's absolutely fine.
That's where I'm going wrong. Yeah, just using that little tiny size 0 brush trying to paint a horse, and it won't stand still either.
Later, somebody explained to me what I've missed. because I genuinely don't see it. But
Florence
it is very hot, dear
about
listener.
painting a horse like a full-size horse, Chris, but with a miniature brush. Hence the.
Oh, I
Okay.
see. Okay.
Sorry,
I assumed
thought
it
that's what
might
we
have
were
been a
talking about.
rude joke. I didn't.
Oh, what?
Right. I'm with you. Right. Good. Thank you, dear listener. Super. This is going great, everybody.
But
Super.
you're right.
So
what is wrong with painting a horse? Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, let's ask the RSPCA.
Yeah.
I like painting horses.
Yeah. There we go.
I haven't painted a horse in ages.
so
I might try and paint some horses to see what it's like. I haven't got any horses. I've got beast cavalry, which are on horses. Oh, they're not on. What are they on? Those are on dragons.
Oh yeah,
I've got some little horses that I nearly painted, but then I couldn't be bothered in the end. But they got wings, so
yeah.
I base coat.
What's going to happen to them, Steve? Then
They're going to
Can't
sit
be
on my
bothered
desk
to
for another
paint them.
6 months, I think.
oh, fair enough.
Fair.
Yeah, super.
Hmm.
Can't you spray them gold and turn them into some kind of Clash of Kings prize?
Ornament. Yeah, it's a prize for the best costume.
Most
Yay.
annoying general. Oh,
Win a
that's
horse.
hey, that is genuinely a good idea.
What most annoying?
Win a
most annoying
waistcoat,
general?
Florence.
Most annoying waistcoat. Yeah,
Most annoying.
John Guns
Most
wins
annoying general. That is quite the that is a hot ticket there, isn't it? That's quite the challenge to win that one. So
But
guys, I
apparently it's
think
worth,
so.
like,
What
5 tournament points, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like coming in the right costume.
50 tournament points extra.
50 tournament points.
That's not true. If
what
anyone's
does a
wondering.
tournament point get you?
Prizes. It's tournament prizes.
Are they redeemable? How much is 50 tournament points in cash or Mantic vouchers?
Well,
Oh,
it's
wow.
7 points for
What's
a
the
win.
conversion
isn't it, or
rate?
Something.
Something like that. I can't remember.
Oh,
We're
there
on
you go. Oh,
blackjack
it's a
scores.
lot
So it's
then.
21.
Okay, so it's like winning
Cool.
2.5
Yeah.
games.
Anyway,
Oh,
focusing
wow.
very much back.
That's
on
more
we did
than I'll
promise
win.
to be 45 minutes. It's not going to be 45 minutes at this rate, guys.
Yeah,
It's
so-
7 hours.
Guys, so are we agreed the interesting thing about being kingdoms of men is you just have a load of stout, brave human beings fighting against the horrors of Panathor.
Yeah.
You've
and
got your fancy elves, you've got your dwarves, you've got your monsters, and then you've got Roger and Steve with their pikes.
Right here.
yeah.
I mean, for me, I didn't really.
I'm doubling down on it.
I'm very much. I would very much agree with you, Chris. I find the Kingdoms of Men lore to be very uninspiring, and I'd rather be an elf. However, I accidentally fell into playing Kingdoms of Men because I wrote a list that I thought was funny, and now I love them. And I've decided that Oliver and Steve and their mate Daryl and Philippa. I think it's hilarious that they're all just kind of wandering around with no magic whatsoever, and there's a bunch of people with literal supernatural powers, and all they've got is a shield, and that's how they play as well. Literally no supernatural powers whatsoever, and here's a guy who's going to lightning bolt your face off. It's like, oh great, you've got tentacles coming out of your head. You know what I've got? A short dagger. Let's go at it. That's how
I've got a crossbow, Steve.
Got a crossbow. Let me
Got a
just wind it
crossbow.
up. Oh, I'm dead. Oh well. That's how.
Yes,
they
as they're fighting
Isn't it?
terrors and
They literally play like their
mutants.
law, ineffectual, right? That's how they play. You need at least 3 units to kill any one other unit with Kings of Men, and that's kind of the challenge of them. I like the challenge.
What I really like about them.
Hang on.
every
Whoa.
unit
We'll
kind
come
of
to
like
this in the relevant section.
like
Oh,
when you look at the army, you know what everything does, don't you? Like, oh, these are guys on horses with lances. They're knights. So like, oh, look at these chaps holding bows with like no armor on. It's like, it doesn't really matter like what you go for modelling options. It's guys with weapons, and you look at another army, it's like, I don't know what this could be anything. It's just like creatures with tentacles on
You
their
two
heads.
just aren't respecting the running order whatsoever, are you? Jumping all over the place. Yeah, this is the exact issue I have with Night Stalkers is the complete opposite, where I'm sort of like, is this gribbly monster here, is that sort of a magic-y, fly gribbly monster or a fighty gribbly monster? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But they're all gribbly monsters, so it's sort of the opposite. So
I'm
super.
still on why
So
Kingdoms
let's
of Men
talk
are cool
about.
here. This is why they're cool. I'm
Yeah.
still.
Yes.
I'm sticking to
Yeah,
the order
absolutely.
here, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, but thanks, Florence. There we go. Perfect.
And they're so cool. I
super.
need
So
to
we're
talk
sort
about
of-
them for at least another half an hour about just how cool they are.
I'm listening. We're kind of saying they're cool because they're not cool. They're sort of they're the accountants of Panathor. They're the,
I'm married to an
the
accountant. What are
everyday
you saying?
Joes.
Aren't you an accountant? Oh no, you're right.
No, they're not everyday Joes. That's the whole thing. These are like the most amazing bros who like their home is in danger from it's like a dragon or something, and they go, you know what? I'm just a peasant, but I'm going to pick up this sharp stick and defend my homeland. You know, these guys are super heroic.
Super heroic.
Yeah.
I think.
Super.
Well, see, my Kingdoms of Men force is made up of deserters from Basileia in the Northern Alliance who decided that all this fancy magic stuff's absolute garbage. And so they're all joined together. Actually, to be fair, the original story was they fell under the thrall of a dragon, which was my monarch. So I'm really going off track here. But then I decided the monarch was terrible.
Stories, though, Steve. I like both of those stories. I like that they're deserters, and I like that they worship a magic dragon. Both of those things are great.
The monarch's fallen out of my list, and now they're just dudes hanging out. So,
but they've changed their mind. They're flexible. That's just the story evolving, Steve. You know, that guy with the magic dragon, he's gone.
The dragon's still there,
not...
but they're just.
He's
resting. He's resting.
He's sending out his troops to fight for him, isn't he?
He's died so many times. He's having a rest.
It's too important to lead the troops himself.
That's right.
It's a dragon. He has minions.
Does the dragon have a name, Steve?
No. There was an ornament that I found on the page that I really liked, and then I put it in a fountain. Then I had to build a fountain, and so the entire army is now themed around invading the town in which the dragon was trapped in a fountain. So it got a bit abstract.
See, this is the cool sort of law of the faction thing, though, isn't it? It's like you could just make up your own law for Kingdoms of Men.
That's why it's so vague.
Yeah. Like the official Mantic law is like there's once a huge human empire that covered the whole world, and then like a volcano exploded and it got invaded and it all fell apart, and elves probably.
And elves.
And elves.
Elves again.
It's always elves, isn't it? It's always
and then you've got
elves.
like those Basileans like trying to hold on to like their faith, and you've got like the Northern Alliance doing their own thing, and then like everyone else is just like, we're gonna make our own kingdom, it'll be great.
Is this the next section with the law? Well, I'm gonna look at the show notes,
we're talking about the law now seamlessly, Steve. No. We try and set it up in such a way that we follow the show notes without even really noticing, because we're just having a conversation that goes on. I'm
just segueing.
You don't point out to the dear listener. We're actually, this is going great, guys.
Just follow my lead.
The dear listener that just to reassure them. But yes, Steve. So you've read the law in the Big Red Book.
Yeah.
There's 3 pages of it. Something about archers. Come on.
Well, although Florence was doing very well, in fairness, because the law was removed from the Big Red Book, but it's available as a separate download on the Mantic website.
It is. But I forgot about that.
I've read it.
I read it too.
It didn't take very long.
No, it just says humans. They're everywhere, and they've got vitality, and they're super great, apparently at breeding or something. And then it just lists all the unit types and says, and they use bows and also cannons, but not as well as dwarves do, because apparently no one does anything as well as dwarves do, even running these days.
I wonder who put that in there.
Yes, I know. And then it's got a bunch of stuff, and it doesn't really say anything, but there is some additional law. If you want to find what law there is, you can go to the Panathor wiki, the co-wiki.
Yes, because there's a couple of kingdoms, isn't there? Like successor kingdoms and young kingdoms and things like that.
There's quite a few characters. If you're interested, it's panathor-kow.fandom.com.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the lore came from the Armada rulebook, where there was a lot of stuff, and it's got a lot of the kind of the individuals that are named as through that. And the successor kingdoms. One of them is called. Can you remember what it's called, Flo? So I can't remember. Oh, Genazan.
Yeah, which is basically like sort of like Italian merchant republic Renaissance.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I think Genazan is what is left of the Primavantan Empire. It's built on top of like a floating city in the Bay of Genesa.
It's fantasy Venice.
So it's it's Geneva, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, I'm on board with that. So
on board.
What's the difference then?
Because it's a ship.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, see what I did there?
Yeah.
Hey.
And then like Primavantor, it's like fantasy Rome, isn't it? It was like the capital of the kingdom, and now it's fallen down.
So what's the difference between the Kingdoms of Men and the successor kingdoms? Are the successor kingdoms part of the Kingdoms of Men?
Absolutely, yeah. Because you've got the successor kingdoms and you've got the young kingdoms. And then you've got what's left of Primavantor. And technically, Basilia is one of the kingdoms of men, but it's got its own list.
Yeah.
It's
Should
just
be a
like
theme list.
it should be a theme list.
If we made a theme list of the kingdoms of men, that would really
that
annoy
would make me so happy.
Oh man,
I strongly dislike this whole theme list thing. I feel like it was put in there and they thought we'll do that until we can think of something better, and then they didn't get around to thinking of something better.
I think theme lists would be really fun to have special characters. So like you could only have Morgoth if you take Morgoth's theme list. As you have the basic undead list. If you want to take Morgoth, you've got to take his theme list, and it's a really specific flavour.
Yeah, it doesn't have any zombies or something.
No, that makes more sense to me. Yeah, to me that is a theme list, because at the moment I feel like what they have isn't really a theme list. Anyway, it doesn't really matter to do this now. Super. So
we're not here to rewrite the game, are we?
No. But anyway, I haven't finished talking about lore yet. Can I talk about lore some more?
No, you did great. Sorry, guys, carry on. I'll mute myself.
That's all right. There's more. So there's also there's the Mountain Duchy of Sathoy, which is a provider of skilled mercenary companies.
It's Switzerland. It's Fantasy Switzerland.
Fantasy Switzerland.
That's basically kind of like where my dudes are from.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
You're a Sathoyan mercenary company.
Well, they're from a barony in Sathoy called Cropflock.
Baron von Cropflock. I remember from your list.
Yeah.
And then there's the captain.
Yes, the captain. He was just called the captain.
But he's not just called the captain. He's got a name. Did you know he had a name?
Well, I got a theory about this actually, Steve. That actually there's been more than one captain over the years, and that the current captain is.
I've lost it now.
No, that was your. Try that again. And the current captain is
Alvaro Raposa, a legendary figure. He hails from a mountain village near Dol Gragos. And he was
which is in Fantasy Spain or something.
But and he's a legendary tactical general who hires himself out to the highest bidder.
Yeah. But I think like the title of the captain has been passed down. Under the helmet, it could be anyone. It's like Batman.
There's a picture of him, and he looks ridiculous.
I've actually got two different captain models. One that's on foot, and one that's mounted.
A little bit to the dear listener, Steve. The picture. What does he look like? Is he swarthy?
No, he looks like an elf. He's wearing very spiky kind of Basilean themed armor, but more elven. And for some reason, he's carrying a giant scroll floating above his right hand. It doesn't really make much sense as a picture. I don't know where it came from. It's kind of cool. A bit of artwork. It says. No, I don't know what that's from. And it says worships the shining ones. I'm not sure that's true.
Maybe it is. Who knows?
Maybe it isn't. I haven't asked him.
Yeah. Alvaro Raposa.
Okay, but so there is a fair bit. This is actually more than I thought there was in terms of lore, right? So there's a fair bit of kind of Renaissance, late medieval Europe in there, right?
You can kind of make up whatever kingdom you want there, because you could say, this is a bit more of a sort of backwaters country.
Yeah.
These ones are a bit more peasanty. These ones are a bit more medieval Francey. You got your old Bretonnian army. You want to put it on the table.
The best Kingsman character is, of course, Lord Darvled, who's mentioned in Broken Alliance.
Okay, that's pretty niche.
He's this I say best. He's this quasi-Nazi kind of Trumpian leader who has set up a kingdom which is kind of very anti anything that isn't a human. It's kind of humans for humans' sake. Stay out of our kingdom type of guy, and he's mentioned throughout Broken Alliance as this.
Is he the guy from Primavantor?
Yeah, he's a divisive leader. I don't know where he's from actually. Let's look him up on the Wikipedia. Live googling here. Lord Darvled. Here he is, Darvled. He's rapidly risen to the power on more aggressive human-centric policies and biases.
Yeah.
He's built a wall to the west of the Dragon's Teeth Mountains to keep out invaders such as orcs and goblins, but really just to protect his empire.
Build the wall.
Build the wall. Exactly.
And they did. Yeah.
At least that's to keep out orcs and goblins, mind, to be fair.
Oh, he was in the
that sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Keep
it?
out the fantasy Mexicans.
Not sure this timeline makes sense.
No, of course not.
Because it says in 2850, during the final construction of his wall, Lord Darvled's arrival was being prepared at an undisclosed town. And then in 3856, he succeeded his father. So unless he's 1,000 years old, that doesn't make much sense.
Oh, one of those numbers is probably like a different way of counting the years, like it's in the Elvish reckoning or something.
Yeah, the Gregorian calendar. Although that would be a very confusing way for them to do it.
Maybe it's just,
I don't know. I mean, who knows? I mean, without having Christianity, I mean, I suppose you could do whatever you wanted, really. Go backwards, forwards, whatever you like, really.
Yeah.
I suppose.
And then kind of like up north of the mountains, you've got like all these young kingdoms, which is where you find like the Rordia guys.
Yeah.
So yes. you can almost do anything you like up there. You can have something which is kind of like sort of Gothic or Hungarian or Mongol hordes or I don't know, samurai warriors.
Yeah.
Just make up your own law. I think
Yeah. And Florence, what was it? So Rordia to me is, excuse my ignorance, but quite similar, I would say. What is it that? Because I think the Rordia list looks cool. Feels a bit more sort of themey. Because I read Broken Alliance. Is that not as interesting to you?
The Rordia list is really kind of role playery. It's got all the fun units, hasn't it? Like you can have 3 different named mercenary company units, but only one of each, and guys on flying dogs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a human army that joined together with some magical guys, basically betraying our human-centric.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big fan of
worshipping,
and I'm a bit jealous of the mercenary companies, and I quite like to take them in my regular Kings of Men list.
Yeah,
but I don't like them enough that I would run a Rordia list, because the rest of it's not very attractive, because halflings and flying dogs.
Bit weird.
I know, right?
Guys, you're dead inside if you don't think a halfling riding a flying dog is fun. Come on, a flying dog with a tiny little man on riding it?
Give me some girl in armor on top of a horse.
Yeah.
So that's fine. So
stupid dogs, halflings, dwarves, who cares?
So to me, Kingdoms of Men, I mean, you're talking me around a little bit in regards to Kingdoms of Men. To me, Kingdoms of Men, its advantages are also its disadvantages, if you see what I mean. I think it's a great way of getting people like you, Florence, to come and play Kings of War and go, oh yeah, I've got an army, I can play that game.
I mean, if you've got Historicals army, then that's your gateway, isn't it?
Yeah, that's your way in. But its flexibility is also in a way working against it, because then I think it has to stay generic to a certain extent to keep letting new people in. And I hope, and it sounds like they've started doing it a little bit, I hope they can keep it as a way of funneling new players into the game, but also let people, be more specific with their lore, or go deeper into it, if that makes sense, rather than staying sort of superficially in Kingdoms of War.
It's actually, I mean, if we want to talk about lists and kind of stuff that's actually in the army, I think it offers a load of different play styles. And I'm not going to cast any shades on other sort of Kings of War lists that maybe sort of lend themselves to 1 or 2 different styles. I reckon with Kings of Men, you can pretty much do. I'm gonna say you can pretty much do any kind of play style, though it will do some better than others. Like if you want to do a shooty gun line, I mean, you can do. I wouldn't recommend it, but and I don't think every faction's got that because of the nature of the list and all the options and the different variants you can take of the different units. You're not kind of channeled into doing one thing.
Yeah, I think I
would agree. Is pretty cool.
It's very flexible. So bear in mind the way that Kingdoms of Men exists as a list is the base list, the base unit for every other list in the game. So everything else is pointed based on Kingdoms of Men Shield Wall, pretty much. So
sometimes quite well, not always.
Not always consistently, but they do a good enough job. But I think what it is quite It's very average and very flexible. It doesn't really do anything better than anyone else. It does things as well as everyone else sometimes.
So
it's very average,
one or
right?
two terrible units.
Isn't that the point? It's supposed to be exactly mediocre. Isn't that's exactly the point, right?
I don't think it is mediocre. I think that's not the word for it. I think it is average.
Very average, correct.
Yeah, which is better than mediocre.
And that's how I play it.
I sort of meant the same thing, but I suppose that has different implications. Kind of rubbish, perhaps. Isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah. But because they're really average, they're really flexible, and also you don't end up paying points for rules that you're not using. Like example, Sylvan Kin, you're playing for Scout and Pathfinder in every unit.
Yeah.
And if that unit doesn't go through any terrain or Scout in the game, you've paid 20 points and not for a rule you've not used.
You never used.
But it's there if you could use it, so you've got that flexibility. So like all the Kingdoms of Men units are like they just do their thing.
Badly. Or averagely.
No, averagely. That's the point. Averagely, exactly. So let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about modelling opportunities then. So you could use, if you wanted to, you could use Northern Alliance Mantic models. You could use Basilia Mantic models. But then, of course, on top of that, you can do literally anything you want to do. As we've said, if you already have an army, great, go at it. If you've got, the shop owner where I play, he's got an army of samurai, warlord miniatures. He's using them. You can do, whatever you want to get into the game. So that is a huge strength, right? You really have incredible, almost, it's difficult to think of another army that has so many different modelling opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the ones that come closest are the ones that kind of like fantasy staples: elves, dwarves, orcs, undead. If you want to play Trident Realms, for example, then really you're using the Mantic models.
Yeah, there's pretty much. I think Kingdoms of Men, I've got a Mantic army because I'm a tryhard, so it is all the kingdoms, the Basileans and Northern Alliance and that. But plenty more people have historical armies than have Mantic armies, and it's a great gateway drug to use your historical armies. And plus, there's no, I think Kings of Men armies with all those pikes and everything just look fantastic. There's nothing like nested rows upon rows of spears.
I'm in love with the look of my Kingdoms of Men army. They've got that real sort of 2000s White Dwarf Empire look.
Yeah.
Bright colours, puff trousers, oversized weapons.
Yeah. And I think your army looks great, Florence. I've seen your army look wonderful. I think I really like my friend Dan has played Kings of Men a few times against me. He always beats me because he runs this knight heavy list. But he took the formation with the kind of Robin Hood character in it.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because it's not a great formation, but it is really fun.
It is really fun, and it's my best painted unit as well.
I have to take it then because you get to scream volley fire every time you do it, which I think is hilarious.
It's not any good, but you get to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like most Kings of Men thing. It's not terrible.
It could be worse.
So I'm going to take this formation. They've got an amazing special rule. No, they haven't got an amazing special rule. They've just got
They've got an average special rule that costs average points.
It's useful. You pay 5 points for it, and it's like, oh wow.
Get to shout volley fire a lot.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about it, guys. So what units really stick out to us? So I think we've touched on that a little bit.
Good units, like good ones.
Like visually or play-wise.
Yeah. Interpret it however you want. What are the things that get you excited?
Okay, I think I can speak for both me and Steve when I say General on Winged Beast.
General on Winged Beast.
General on Winged Beast. Never leave home without 3 of them.
I do like a General on Winged Beast, but I also like a hero on Pegasus.
You can have 3 of each.
You can. I've played against 3 of each. It's horrible. So they're really fun. I think winged characters are really fun. I think, I've played a couple of lists which you can take a wizard on a Pegasus. Don't even have to have any spells. It's like 30 points for a wizard. You can literally have a Rincewind in your army on a Pegasus running around with no spells to fly in front of things. That's quite silly.
Yeah. I'd like to take a cheap spell, so at least I can do something.
Yeah.
So only one spell. Like, why take 2 spells? You can only cast 1 at a time, right?
I think I like pretty much all of them. there's not many Kings of Men units that I don't like, apart from the Monarch.
No, I love the Monarch. I've got different Monarch models for the different upgrades.
This is Ronnie Renton, and you are listening to the Mantic Universe podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Mike Rossi, Winged Hussar's second best dwarf author, and you're listening to the Mantic Universe podcast.
Yeah, so I originally started playing Kings of Men because I wrote a list with 8 Fanatic units in it, which I thought was hilarious. Like I think it was 8 regiments and 4 troops of Fanatics with the Monarch with the Vicious upgrade.
They can't all get within the size of the aura, though, surely.
Yeah, no, it's an absolutely terrible list and didn't work.
I'm running a list tomorrow, actually. But if you're listening to the recording of this, it was in the past. But let's imagine time travel is real. Where I'm running the Monarch with the Knights upgrade.
Yeah, tried that as well.
I'm running it with 80 foot guards.
That's how I ran it as well. That was really fun.
Yeah,
I had
absolute unkillable regiments of hordes of doom.
with Rally 2. The problem with I like that. So the foot guard in that list are great. It's just that the Monarch is rubbish in that list because he doesn't have Strider for no reason. So he's just this giant thing kind of clambering over walls doing no damage, which is irritating. He's literally a very, very expensive rally unit.
You can still put fly on him.
You can't put fly and have the Knight upgrade.
Absolutely can.
You only have one upgrade though. One out of the things.
You can have fly plus one of the other upgrades.
Shut up.
Oh, Steve.
Hang on. Bear with.
You're going on the companion right now, aren't you?
I am literally on it as we speak.
Yeah.
Kingdoms of Men. Quick, create. Monarch.
Yeah.
Shit. Wow. But that makes him really expensive. But since when?
Since always. Well, I say always. I've only been playing this game since March. Since March.
That makes him 355 points.
Yeah.
That seems a lot.
It's kind of.
Well, there you go.
It's kind of dragon.
Maybe if I learned to use the old Mantic Companion, that would help.
Maybe.
Why would you take Slayer? That seems weird.
Come on, Steve. So we're in this now, right? So you've got Mantic Companion up. So it's 355 points. Let's explain to the dear listener what you get for those points.
You get a dragon with Rally 2, pretty much. It's like a normal dragon, 17, 19, 10 attacks, melee 3, defense 5. And you give him wings and he goes to speed 10. Give him flying nimble. Without the wings, he's terrible. Hey, talking about units that I like, Ballista are great.
Ballista are cool.
They're just incredible. 60 points. They're ridiculously good.
Sorry, Steve. Can I just come back to that Monarch guy? It sounds like he is expensive, but everything else is very reasonably priced. So maybe it averages out. Oh, Florence is just showing a red Ballista. Red and black. Very cool.
We've moved on.
That looks like it's going to do some damage.
Yeah.
I think so. If you want to take a dragon, he's a good dragon.
He's a great dragon. Yeah.
He's a good dragon.
And even without the wings, I still think the Monarch's a good unit. And I've got this gorgeous Monarch unit as well, which is like it's the bones of the dead Monarch being carried along on the kind of the shoulders of her knights.
I love that. I suppose what I would say, Chris, if Kingdoms of Men is a list when you're building like competitive lists, not fun lists or thematic lists, but competitive lists where everything has to be incredibly efficient in your units. Because if you take something that isn't efficient, that's a luxury, the rest of your units can't support that.
But luckily, most of the list is really efficient.
So I think if I was, for me, and just the way I play, to take the Monarch, I can't find enough efficiency in the rest of the list to compensate for that. You can have a dragon. Dragons are great, but if rather than taking a dragon with 10 attacks, I can have a general on wing beast for nearly 200 points less, who's only got 7 attacks, but he's still crushed 2 Thunder 1. I mean, it's just inexpressibly better, and it's got a smaller base size. So efficiency-wise, General on Wing Beast beats the Monarch just into a cocked hat at any moment.
But fun-wise,
never heard that expression before, but I see what you're getting at.
Fun-wise, not as fun. But there's other, a General on Pegasus is even worse. That's the worst unit in the list, I'd say.
Yeah, well, why would you take the general on a Pegasus?
Exactly. Why
if you want the cheap option, you take the hero on the Pegasus. If you want the good version, you take the general on the Winged Beast. And you've got like this in-between one. In fact, I always forget general on Pegasus is there.
Yeah. Why would it's rubbish.
Yeah. What I really like about Kingdoms of Men units as well is the fact like you can take like a horde of Shield Wall and it's like 165 points.
Yeah, it's no money.
Yeah. And it's like other factions are paying more than that for a regiment.
Yes.
And it's just like, here is a load of unit strength, and it's not terrible. It's like it's got defense 4 and hits on 4s, and it's got like 25 attacks and 4 unit strength.
I wish mammoths were better though.
Yeah, they're kind of okay, aren't they? They're kind of okay.
But they're not as good as a giant. Giant's right there.
Yeah, but then I won't take giants or mammoths because they're kind of like not thematic for my army.
There's some lore about giants in the Kingdoms of Men.
No way.
There is.
The lore,
Steve.
Does the lore say sometimes Kings of Men's army have giants?
Oh my god, have you read it? All right, here we go. Let's see. Army, factions, neutral, Kings of Men. Here we go. Kings of Men. So it says about giants, it says, bear with.
Yeah, bearing with.
Well, no, I can't find it. Was it in the book? Hang on, I've got that open as well. I had that open.
So, Steve, why don't you keep looking, but do it without talking, and then I'll carry on talking about something else, and then we can circle back to it. So there was for a long time in Germany. So the main club in Germany who play Kings of War kind of aren't really playing Kings of War anymore. They've gone off to do other things, which is a shame to be fair. But the chap who won most German tournaments, he always played Kingdoms of Men, and he had the same Warhammer Fantasy army he'd always had, and he just knew it really, really well. He played it for 8 years or something like this, playing Kings of War, and he was just really good at it. And he was just very efficient. So he trained units very well, and he had 3 flying heroes, and he would always play the objectives and win. And I remember before COVID, Elliot Morris came over for a tournament, and he beat Elliot into something like 3rd place in the tournament, something like that. So he was always very good with his Kingdoms of Men.
Good.
Steve, are giants just really big humans, or are they something else?
Dude, I've just found like 7 more pages of Kingdoms of Men lore in the wrong place in the rulebook.
No way.
I don't know how that happened. It's on page 134. And there's quite a lot of lore, but it's pretty much what we said already around coming out of the Primavantian ruins. The Ophidians are mentioned again. It talks about the spread of men, where after the High Consul Primavantor died, dozens of independent city-states now rule small kingdoms all over the peninsula. Then it's got a bit about Lord Darvled in Valentica.
Good old Darvled.
Yeah, it sits on the edge of Lake Harrowmere. There you go.
Harrowmere and Darvled, they're really mixing up their sort of historical words.
Yeah, he taxes any alien races that live there very heavily, allegedly.
So how do you feel about this whole... I feel like there's enough xenophobia in the real world at the moment. We don't need it in our fantasy games. What do you think?
Fantasy games are pure xenophobia, aren't they? I mean, that's basically like the core mechanic of most fantasy war games. It's just like...
but we've got the Northern Alliance. That's, let's all just be nice to each other and pick, frozen daisies.
Yeah,
whatever.
They're the exception that makes everybody else.
Yeah, but they're one of the newest ones. Yeah.
Yeah, well, my guys they got tired of all that nonsense. They were always treated 3rd rate compared to all the elves, so they left.
That's because they're 3rd rate, Steve.
Right, here's the giants.
General.
It says giants. So not all. So giants too oft seen striding angrily amongst the serried ranks of human polearms, goaded into action with the promise of an unrivaled feast. Not all these colossal beings live in such servitude. Some more enterprising and intelligent giants, notably the Goliaths of Caretia and the
those guys,
the Cyclopean swamp lords of Copacati, offer their unique destructive services for a fee.
Yeah,
I've got to be honest. I love this idea of swamp lords. I'm very much in for that. It makes a very cool basis with the swamp lords.
The swamp lords with their Cyclopean Swamp Lords of Kopakati.
Those ones, yeah.
I'm all in on this. This is great.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Maybe I can do my new Trident Realm army as Swamp Lords. Maybe I can.
Yeah, with the Coral Giant.
Yeah, swampy bases. Yeah. This sounds great.
How do you run your Kingdoms of Men then? Because you've got loads of battle reports on your channel, haven't you, Steve? So do you run them as a kind of grind army? Do you like a mixed list? Do you go infantry heavy?
The way my current list is, it's got a very solid core of all the ensnaring guys, which is just the best unit in the game. They're just fantastic.
I do love the pikes. I've got over 100 of them.
It's disgusting on a unit. So it's got a core of that, and with some kind of fanatics behind them, because I've kept fanatics because I made the models. And then it's just got lots of flying dudes. So it's very much a hammer and anvil.
How do you deal with shooting with all that sort of slow defense 4 stuff?
It doesn't deal with shooting well at all. It absolutely melts like soft snow. But it's got 3 ballista in it, and it's got 3 King Generals on Winged Beast, and it's got a unit of Beast Cav. So by the time they've shot all of that, it's generally across the board and in their face. So it's just, against heavy shooting lists, if you're taking a melee focused list with only a few bits of shooting in, you can't match their shooting, then you offer them something to shoot every turn and make sure you get in their face as quickly as possible. That's pretty much how it runs. And it works, I'd say, 70% of the time.
What are you using to kind of chaff up all that infantry? I mean, are you using the pikes as basically?
Yeah, basically pikes. There's no chaff in the list. There's just pikes. If I need chaff, then if I need to put something like a reed in front of a unit, then I drop a wizard on Pegasus in front of something and say kill that for a turn.
I did that in a game a couple of weeks ago against Mitch and his undead. I just dropped a Pegasus right in front of his scary Gribblies.
And there is nothing more annoying than having a Wizard of Pegasus in front of your massive horde of, if you have a horde of cavalry, like a giant horde of cavalry, and you're like that, it's got 30 billion attacks, and it's going to smash your face, like that, cool. You can kill this wizard, and then I'll flank you. How's that?
Yeah, and but the wizard didn't even die.
Yeah, and then the
wizard lived.
Yeah, there's a small chance it'll survive. Yeah,
they usually survive. To be honest, I very rarely did they die. They're still made of tougher stuff.
It's quite difficult to multi-charge a wizard, isn't it?
Yeah, they're tiny, and they're a 10-12, which isn't too bad in Defense 4.
Yeah, I'm running a list tomorrow that's got 3 wizards on Pegasi.
Let's go.
It's got 3 generals on Winged Beast, 4 regiments of pikes.
Yeah.
It's just got all your favourite stuff.
Well, do you want to just run us, if you've got it in front of you, do you want to just run us through your list and then just explain to us roughly what you're planning on doing with stuff?
Absolutely, because by the time anyone listens to this podcast, it will have fought and won or fought and died.
There's a small chance I'll edit it tonight. There's a small chance it'll drop in time, but if anyone actually listens to it in time, I feel like they deserve the advantage. Unless you want me to deliberately put it out on Sunday. To this
because they're so desperate, they want to get one advantage against me. Then let them do it.
Let them eat cake.
No, Florence, be nice to the dear listeners. Come on, we've really got to keep them on side.
No,
our listeners are not desperate. They're just smart. Brilliant.
4 of them.
Attractive. Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah. If that's what they need to beat me. So, yes, the list. 4 regiments of pikes. I wanted to take hordes, but I needed the unlocks for all the huge number of individual flyers. Which aren't individuals because they're on monstrous mounts. So they're going to either hold a whole flank themselves with 4 regiments of pikes, or they're going to split across 2 on each side. But they're basically there to screen the flyers till they get in pounce range. Then the big hammer in the army is a horde of winged beast knights with a vicious upgrade as well, and the brew of haste. Because who doesn't love speed 11 flying units? And then kind of like the big centre of the army is 2 hordes of foot knights. One's got the hammer of measured force. One's got crush.
Hordes.
Hordes. With the monarch with the knights upgrade.
Oh, foot knights. I thought you said mounted knights. Okay, foot knights. That's better.
Foot knights, yeah. No, the other version of this list, instead of the winged beast knight horde, has got a horde of regular knights, which is nice.
That is fun.
But I tried that and it just got really congested because they can't just hop over the top in the same way that the winged ones can. And actually 2 hordes of foot knights plus the monarch plus 4 regiments of pikes kind of fills the middle of the table up with units. It's a lot of infantry. I mean, the list has got something like 200 infantry models.
It's a lot of painting.
Yeah, they do look cool though.
Worth it.
So the plan is basically just to push everything up and then have like flying things jump over the top and then wizards to get in the way and just survive and sit in objectives with these great big hordes with defense 5 and 26, 28 nerve or something. I'm just gonna go sit those into some terrain and get some points.
It's not a lot of crushing strength.
That sounds.
There's not a lot of crushing strength. No, it's definitely a survive army, isn't it? With all that ensnare and yeah. I mean, the punch comes from the 3 generals,
the
beast knights, and the monarch.
That was what I found, is that I'd finally get my hordes of knights into something, and they just kind of, although they're melee 3, they'd be hitting against defense 5 and 6, and they'd just kind of go, and then nothing would happen, and it was a bit ineffectual.
Yeah. What I found works really well is the hammer on the foot knight horde, foot guard horde.
That's good.
Yeah. They're hitting on 3s, and they've got stacks of attacks.
Cool.
But like Chris says, you've got 25 attacks, that's 25 wounds, right?
That's how it works, I think.
25 attacks hitting on 3s,
just maths.
so you get like 2/3 of them. So that's like 16 hits with a hammer. That's 8 wounds against anything.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
You just did math then really quickly, so my brain just heard static noise.
Okay.
So.
Just skips I won't show my workings. They do 8 wounds
skip
against
to the
anything.
end.
8 wounds against anything.
That's how it works.
Doesn't matter what it is because of the hammer. That will kill most regiments.
Really cool. So, should we move on to some listener questions? So, Mark Zelinski. Hey, Mark. Should the army be able to choose to be good, neutral, or evil?
Ooh, it's a good question. But they're neutral already, which is the best alignment.
Yeah, isn't the principle of being neutral is that you can choose to be good, neutral, or evil? That's what neutral means.
Yeah.
So
you can ally with anyone, can't you? And that's really the only thing
that. Yeah. I always just think of Zach Brannigan when he's talking from Futurama, and he's talking about what makes a man turn neutral, Kiff. It's just being neutral is the most suspicious thing.
What makes a man turn neutral?
Yes. So I mean, in my mind, the whole good, neutral, evil thing is just they just shouldn't worry about it, to be quite honest. But I like the idea, if you go right, my kingdoms of men are the bad guys and Conan the Barbarian. Go. I like the idea that you could sort of do that, but I think you make a good point with the whole neutral thing. You can, do whatever you like, really.
You can say they are the bad guys from Conan the Barbarian, and it doesn't change the way the game plays at all.
That's entirely true.
Yeah, you can still ally with anyone. Unless you want to be evil, so specifically so you can't ally with good.
Yeah. You could do that yourself. Yeah. Morally, I'm against the whole allies thing because I think, it makes the game less interesting, to be quite honest. But there you go.
Allies are filthy.
And people go, oh no, we've got some, there's lovely thematic reasons why we've got 3 regiments of Glade Stalkers in our army or whatever. It's like, yeah, sure you do. Sure you do. Great. Brilliant. Good for you.
We'll play the game. I
Good.
think allies are fine.
Allies are not fine.
We were talking earlier about xenophobia and how we don't. I was saying I don't like xenophobia in the game, and they were like, "Well, allies, no, 1,000 times no,
no."
Build another wall."
Lord Darvlev over there in Germany,
Dardlev, exactly. I've become Dardlev.
Allies bad.
No ally.
I'm going to bring pack hunters and frost wolves with me.
Tax you heavily.
That was nearly right. Frost wolves. Frostfangs.
Frostfangs. They're the wolf things. Wolves. What are they called? Snow wolves. What are they?
Snow foxes.
Snow foxes. Those ones.
Snow foxes.
Fox
you're sort of.
Snow wolves.
You're getting it half right many times. Yeah.
What are we
You can have
talking about?
foxes, you can have wolves, or you can have frostbangs. Northern Lights, Steve. I'll be taking that army to your tournament.
Yeah, Northern Lights.
Yeah, well, I suppose theoretically. I'm taking mostly infantry Northern Lights army to your tournament, Steve, because it all fits nicely in the box and it's kind of my theme.
My tournament? Are you coming to Clash?
Yeah.
Am
I ever?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I hope it doesn't happen this year. That's great. Or is it Clem not coming?
No. Clem's not coming, but I very much am. Yes.
Oh, wow. I'm delighted.
I'm also delighted. There's me. There's Walt coming from all the way from Australia again.
Love Walt.
And there's Pod All Star Peter, and there's my friend Chris from school, who is coming to his first Kings of War tournament. So very excited. We're a team. We're all playing Northern Alliance.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we have a story. We don't have waistcoats, sadly. We have T-shirts. We're going to be wearing T-shirts.
Wow, I'm glad you're wearing T-shirts, not naked. If you came naked, I would throw you out.
We've had some discussions. First idea was some sort of fur waistcoat, but then, because we're Northern Lights, No, we have our own story planned out. So we're questing for this. We're questing to find the true magical name of the city of Chill. It all came from me saying I think the name Chill is
useless,
a little bit embarrassing
awful.
and stupid, and really rubbish. And so bless Walt, he's come up with this amazing story where no, it's not the true name. So we have to one of the four of us is going to find the true magical name of the city. So I'm so excited, to be quite honest. Yeah,
that sounds exciting.
Super looking forward to it. And my guys are trying to regain their honour, which we carelessly lost by being rubbish.
How careless!
It's exactly right. But I have and the bloke who was in charge, he's not in charge anymore. He's had to step aside and Shane, and then I've got an ice queen, and she's gone, right, that's it, you're rubbish. I'm in charge now, and he's gone, all right then. And then we quested out from Chill. Off we go.
You could run that whole list as the Kingdoms of Men army, though, basically, couldn't you?
Oh, spec on topic. Let's go.
Could. Yeah, I could do. Yeah.
Erasmus Berger asks, speaking of, back to the notes, he says, how would you approach the army if you were to build one? Perhaps a theme or historical army you would like to put on the battlefield, maybe a unit you would like to build in a certain way.
Knowing Erasmus as well as I do, I think we have to give the answer Romans. Of course, Romans. Imperial Romans, Republican Romans, all the Romans.
I've seen Roman armies. A couple of people have got them, haven't they?
Yeah, they look good. They look really good.
I disagree, Steve.
I wanted to build a Chinese army, but there are 0 good Chinese miniatures. And which is why, so my dragon started out 3 years ago. I painted this dragon. It's a Chinese ornament of a Chinese dragon. It looks really cool. But unfortunately, I then couldn't find any particularly good Chinese miniatures. And so that's when I went down the other way. So, yeah, mine was started with a specific miniature.
Sun Tzu and everything. I find that extraordinary, Steve. And I mean, there's literally anything you can imagine to 3D print.
Right.
And I find it extraordinary there aren't Chinese armies.
Because everyone just has this giant, hard on for Japanese armies. So you have samurai armies coming out the wazoo. And Chinese armies just aren't as exciting as that. And in China
samurai
itself,
are cool though, aren't they?
They are cool. Yeah. And in China itself, there's not a really big historical miniatures scene. It's all like World War II tanks and stuff. So I had like my family in China looking for me, bless, and they found a bunch of board game miniatures I've still got in the garage, but there's just like the odd mounted character because it's very hero focused, right? It's focused around the Three Kingdoms stuff. So you've got like all the heroes of the Three Kingdoms. They even found me a bunch of Lego figures of them and stuff. So I've got a couple of those, but then I haven't found a way to make loads of them. And there was like the Terracotta Warriors. Someone did a Kickstarter, but they're really static poses, and I just didn't like them. And they were metal.
Because of course they would be, of course.
They'd be made you could make your own.
I feel like that's a massive gap in the market.
Yeah. If I was going to make a second army,
there's lots of different.
Say again, Flo, sorry.
If I was going to make like a second Kingdoms of Men army, that'd be really cool. It's like, having made I've got like 4,000 points worth of stuff painted up now. And it's like, you know what, I could do another horde of pikes probably. And then at a certain point, you're just like running into ridiculousness, aren't you? But if I was going to do another one from scratch, which I'm kind of tempted to do because making armies is cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
We like making armies. I've completely lost my train of thought.
You're going to make another cool army. You like making armies. If you were going to make another army, you said ...
Yeah.
Chinese army or Japanese army?
We were talking about samurai army?
No, it's before then.
Tartar army? I'm
Roman?
just guessing at this point. Zulu?
I mean, there's loads of people that have done.
I was going to say Lord of the Rings army, because there's
Lord of the Rings.
There's loads of Lord of the Rings models, and then you can have your wizard on a. You'd have to limit yourself thematically to stuff you could actually get the miniatures for, so you couldn't have a general on a winged beast.
You could put them on the ravens are coming. It's just Aragon on a raven.
On an eagle.
Eagle, that's what I mean. The eagles are coming.
Nice.
Yeah, but I think there's some really cool. I think mostly from GW, but also some other third-party prints of all the sort of Gondor warriors and Rohan riders, and there's a great Gandalf on Shadowfax, and then for the captain, you've got literal Faramir, captain of Gondor, proves his worth
by dying.
Faramir doesn't die.
Was there a
Faramir doesn't die. Kingdoms of Men died, but I think 13-15 nerves not too much for Faramir. I think he's far more a 12-14 Faramir. Yeah, Boromir's a 13-15, isn't he? Really, let's face it.
Boromir's he's /16.
You reckon he's a -16?
Yeah, with regen 6.
He's not fearless though, is he?
Boromir's fearless.
Is he though?
He's fighting with arrows in him.
He doesn't regen either.
Definitely
he doesn't regen, does he?
He pulls arrows out and keeps fighting.
Well, to a point.
That is regen right there. It's not like trollish regen.
Some very nasty points.
Nerf is an abstraction.
Talking Lord of the Rings, why don't they get on the eagle at the beginning and then fly to
Oh god, no, we're not going there.
That's really good reason. Really good reason.
General Gaddafi asks, does the army list need a bit more?
Sorry, hang on. I got to answer the question. Those the swamp army, that sounded cool. I like that. Swampy kingdoms.
Oh yeah,
swampy successors, whatever that was.
Those guys.
Yeah, that's the stuff, Florence. Exactly. Yeah. Yes, perfect. Yes.
How about an army of naked berserkers? The whole army's naked.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah,
you don't paint anything except for weapons and flesh tones.
Rob Phipps has done that. His army at the last his army when we were at that tournament in Oxford, Banbury.
Yeah.
His entire army was naked.
That's scandalous. Even the Phoenix.
There was a lot of boob going on, and there was a lot of other things.
Naked orc army. No, thank you.
Ooh. You can tell things are getting bad on the pod when Steve is actually referring to the notes and trying to move us along. That is not a good sign, is it? A couple of times now, Steve's gone. So anyway, guys, back to the notes. Good. Thanks for sticking with us, dear listener. You are the true pod fans. So Mo is asking, hey Mo. Oh, Steve, do we want to give a little shout out to Mo? Was in you fought 3 battles with him.
Yeah.
In your battle garage.
Oh yeah, you had him prisoner, didn't you?
Isn't he? He really is great.
I locked him in my garage. I bribed him with chocolate and then locked him in my garage until he played me 3 games of Kings of War.
Perfectly reasonable thing to do.
That'll stand up in court, Steve, no problem. Does the army list need a bit more flavour, or should it stay vanilla?
It's my favourite flavour, by the way. Vanilla.
I'll let you answer it, and then I'll jump in.
Oh, it's fine. Honestly, I think it's fine. I generally think it's fine. I get it. What I would support is, I think the generic list is generic for a reason. It's for a practical reason. It's the points basis of all the lists, and for other reasons actually that it's Kings of Men, they're supposed to be generic. If you wanted to make it more flavorful, I have nothing wrong with creating like a Darvled's hordes of rampaging racists or something theme list that could be slightly different. You could. I'm all for hero-based theme lists, but the actual core Kings of Men list is generic for a reason. It was exciting enough when they added Beast Cavalry. I thought that was probably a step too far, giving them better draft
options. A little bit too exciting.
But it does make the list actually playable, so there is that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things I'd love to see in the list as options rather than kind of tweaking the whole thing. But I don't think just to kind of match some of the. I think the whole backtrack. Like the whole flavour of Kings of Men basically comes from like the models you choose to bring to it. So it'd be great if there's some way to represent like really common sort of human type forces. So for example, I'm thinking like crossbows with the big purvey shields.
Ooh.
Like, how about if you could give crossbow block a big shield for 10-15 points? Yeah, I mean, there'd still be a crossbow block, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but then I'd be using him as chaff in every single list. So
yeah,
that's literally what crossbows were used for historically, though. Send them out in front of your main guys. But like, what else was there?
What about
Oh, sorry.
What about having big hordes or legions of peasants? Just
Yeah, that's your militia and fanatics, though, isn't it? Really.
Militia mob, militia mob exists.
Militia's cool. I like militia. I'd like some kind of hero that does something with militia, like a Joan of Arc type, as a unique hero. There's one for fanatics.
Brother Mark, isn't it? In Brother Mark, they've got that. Villains. So the villain, that principle absolutely exists in Brother Mark. With all the villain heroes and their special rules and that kind of stuff. Which again,
Brother Mark is a list that doesn't need to exist.
And I'm really hoping, lore-wise, that they just kill them off.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
I'd be really happy if the Kingdoms of Men list included the cool bits from Rordia. So I'd have the organ gun and the Dogs of War. And then the peasant stuff from Brother Mark. And then if you want to play Brother Mark or Rordia, all the stuff's there in the Kingdoms of Men list. You can just pick and choose.
I think they'd have to lose one of their other war engines to make way for organ guns. I do think organ guns feels more Kingdoms of Men than it does Brother Mark, but we don't then need siege artillery and ballista and something else, right? It's too much.
Who's bringing like 4 war engines anyway? It's just options, isn't it?
Oh, you haven't seen my list? I have written a list with 9 war engines. It's not fun to play.
I do have 9 war engines painted up actually, in case I ever need to use 3 cannons, 3 siege artillery, and 3 ballista.
Lots of very cheap unlocking infantry is that you can bring lots and lots and lots of war engines and make very unpleasant lists. So
I'm not sure it's very unpleasant. I think you get like a real gambler's list.
Yeah,
it's either going to be great or it's going to suck.
Yeah, but if it crushes your opponent, I can imagine not having a brilliant time. Yeah.
I've played against.
But it doesn't at that point. At that point, just go and play 40k. Don't play a lovely balanced game. Just go and play for 40k. Just give in. It's fine. Super. So I think we.
I want to play my war engine spam.
So. In terms of what Mo's asked, I mean, I wish in the list they didn't just call the hero or whatever. I wish they gave that another check. I mean, I think they're obviously having fun with it, but exactly, captain the captain. I wish they'd stop doing that. But I like that there is a bit more lore than I thought there was, and for example, the swampy guys from Swamp Town. That sounds kind of cool. So I think maybe if they can make the list just read a little bit more interestingly with the captain, and then give us bits we can grab onto, which they're kind of already doing, of going, oh, that sounds Swamp Town, that sounds great, and just give us little inspirations, and then the players can fill in a lot of the stuff that's just kind of not there. I think that sounds pretty reasonable.
Claws on a Plane, the upcoming book, is a Kingdoms of Men themed book, because it's about the Arcavidian Plain, which is a mercenary company infested plane of humans, as I understand it. So the next book, which is written by a published author, he's not like a newbie. It looks really good, looks really exciting. Claws on a Plane is Kingdoms of Men themed.
Yeah, I think Kingdoms of Men are actually really popular at the moment. I see them at every tournament.
It's really annoying because I chose to play them because I like
someone else is playing them.
Yeah, be the special flower, and everyone else has turned up playing them.
I mean, if you look at the stats, like last season, like in competitive rank games, then you got played 17 times in a whole year.
Yeah.
But like this season, we're only halfway through the year. They've already been played like 30 times. They're like top 5 faction.
Yeah. That's annoying.
That's annoying, isn't it? So if you want to be like best in race, don't play Kings of Men, because you'll be up against Steve and Andy Marshall and other great players.
It's only my only
Is that
chance
changes
to,
to the list, do we think? Is it? Do we think it's changes to the list that means they're being played a lot more, or people have finished armies? What do we think?
I think the lists have hardly changed from season to season, looking back at the historical stuff. Obviously, I wasn't playing back then. But other races have seen big changes, haven't they?
I think there's people do genuinely try to play armies that are underplayed because best in race qualifies for Masters. That is a thing that happens.
However, Snowflake.
Kings of Men, everyone's got a list. And if people see it's not being played much, people think, oh, I'll play. That seems fun. So it's not just like strategic. People do play them because it is fun to play. And everyone loves an underdog, right? There's a lot more Rack and Slaves players right now than there used to be as well.
And you've got loads of options of Kings of Men as well. I mean, if you're bored playing Kings of Men, just completely change up your list.
I think it's because a really famous YouTuber started to play them, and so everyone's just copying him. That's why.
Yeah. Do you think that's what it is, Steve?
Definitely,
no,
Steve. Definitely.
It's not what it is.
So, really on point Kings of Men question, Steve. What's your plan to like overtake Andy Marshall in the best of race?
Bless him. He actually made a comment in a group about, oh, Hildra's going to catch me, so I'm going to play them again. I'm like, mate, don't ruin my life. But I just need to do well in one more tournament. And I think I overtake him. So we'll see. And given that I've only got one more tournament to play this year, potentially, we'll see what happens. But I did promise I would only play one army this year because I played 6 or 7 different armies last year and did terribly. So playing one army is clearly good for me.
Yeah, but you've done really well with Kings of Men this season.
I've done all right. I've done okay in a few tournaments. Yeah, I've got quite lucky in a few tournaments as well. So yeah, I've done okay. I've not played many tournaments, so I just haven't been able to get out. Life is busy, and I've got stuff on. But I've done 3. How many have I done?
3.
3 tournaments. Is that all?
Yeah, not that I'm stalking you or anything.
You're welcome to. I mean,
stalking is just one of those buzzwords at the moment, isn't it? It's just enthusiastic watching.
Where am I? Let's have a look.
I found Steve very inspirational as I've been learning the hobby, actually. So it's like a bit of a dream come true to be on a pod with him.
Oh, shut up.
If anyone else is thinking of getting into the hobby, they want like a sort of mentor figure, then don't ask Steve. He's already taken.
Yeah, that's. I think. Well, I know why Florence wants me to look at Kings of War Masters site, because if I just go down the leaderboard here, let's just going to find me. I'm down at 26. Guess who's at 25?
I don't know, Steve. Who's 1 point above you in the rankings?
One point above me in the rankings. Florence Maunders.
There she is. Well, let's see how I do at the week. If I do well at the weekends, then
you'd be much higher than me. So I got my work cut out for me, haven't I?
Super. But guys, thank you so much. I've had a lovely time. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Listener. If you've made it this far, you are the true human hero.
You're a fan of nonsense.
A fan of nonsense.